Hi everyone, it's Allison from Fathom 5 Tarot, and I'm here to wrap up the 31 Days of Tarot Challenge 2021, and I'm late. Late by a day. Day late, dollar short, I guess. Whatever. It's a global pandemic, you guys. That's how we roll these days. I loved this. I always love doing this. And I feel like each year I cram more and more prompts together into fewer and fewer videos. Maybe next year I'll give it a break. I don't know. But I do really enjoy it. And I love talking about tarot and I love talking about decks. So why the heck not? Happy in bulk. Very exciting. I went out this morning to try and see the sunrise and it was very, very cloudy. So I didn't see that. But it was beautiful to see the light come into the world. And to start tracking how much longer the days are getting in this part of the world. So that's super fun. So today I am doing prompts 23 to 31, blazing through them, super excited. And the prompt for number 23 is, what is my most sassy deck and what is my most gentle tarot deck? And actually for this one I chose two of each because there's not very many decks in these prompts, so we all love to see the decks. So for sassiest, the two I picked, I didn't make it very accessible here. Hang on. I picked the Pagan Otherworlds as one. I've talked about this deck many times. It just doesn't sugarcoat anything for me. Again, I've talked about a lot of times about why I wasn't going to get this deck at first. I didn't like the animal skins on people, but, it's such a beautiful deck. Oh my God. But it does not tolerate any nonsense from me, I tell you. I find it tells it like it is. And I find that super interesting because I don't think the artists really were that into tarot before they created it. And yet they've captured just something so beautiful in this deck. Really works for me. It's the deck I talked about, one that sort of transitioned me into pippier decks. Oh boy, I love it. But even there was a video pretty recently, I think it was that video where I was talking about pip decks. I don't know, something about getting to know a tarot reader or something. And I was searching for a minor to talk about what I was saying about the pip decks, and just I could not get a minor to come up. It was just like a court card, a major, a court card, a major, over and over again. So if I look for one card in this deck, it'll always be the last one in the pile. It's got a bit of an attitude, but I like it. I like it. That's actually what I look for in a deck. And when I talk about my gentle decks, I'll talk about that a bit more. Should have gotten this one out first. It's the Brady Tarot. I think pretty much everybody's familiar with the Brady Tarot. This deck also does not pull punches at all. Oh. This is a deck I only use for myself. I don't have very many decks in that category, but this is definitely one, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It speaks to me super deeply. I love it very, very much. But I just don't know if I could click with somebody else with it. Too complex, maybe. Too far away from Rider-Waite-Smith in some ways, maybe. Although it is also very Rider-Waite-Smith. I don't know. But I don't want to. It's just for me. And actually that is super special. And I love it. But if I'm in the mood to be coddled, then this is also not a deck I pull out, I tell you. It doesn't play. Now, all of my decks have at times are like, I'm not playing. My kindest, sweetest, gentlest decks. But hopefully that's also in the way I read them. I try not to be too cotton candy about my readings and be realistic about my readings. But with that said, let's look at some gentle decks. So this one was obvious. I actually bought this to be a gentle deck. It's the Whispering Spirits Tarot by Joanna Nelson. And I just thought, like, what if one day I was going to do like readings for kids? And people love the Mons Tarot. I have to say, I don't have the Mons Tarot. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. I always mix up that one and the Little Monsters, but I think it's the Mons Tarot. I know people are bonkers for that deck, but I like this one way better. It took me a while to actually acknowledge that. Uh-oh. Speaking of Little Monster, there's too much stuff on here. You can't stay. I think what really speaks to me about this deck is the Little Monster Tarot has very, very defined faces. And in that, I feel like the emotions and motivations of the characters on the card are really defined. Whereas just the little eyeballs brings a lot of ambiguity to these images. And it's so cute. I don't usually go for cute decks. Like, oh, I don't use this one a ton. I really like it in the springtime. And I haven't ever done any readings for kids. Well, I thought I might, but I do still like it, and I have kept it. There was a couple cards I wanted to show specifically, and of course, oh yeah, I pulled them out here. This is a good example of what I'm talking about, like the Seven of Swords, like doop-de-doop, but it's also like kind of innocent looking, but is that a facade? And there's a little flower, guy down there being like, hey, but what you doing with all those swords? I find it's got a great sense of humor, and you can ascribe any sort of emotion to that, depending on the situation. So I like that a lot. Same thing with the Five of Swords, actually. I feel like this can be like, it's pretty clear in the Rider-Waite-Smith that this person is happy to be a victor. I'm not sure that you have to read it this way in this one, right? There could be some regret. Like, when you get into a conflict with somebody and then the second it's over, you're like, why did I even embark on that? It was dumb. It was a waste of energy. I feel badly. I said things I shouldn't have. I said things I didn't mean. I like that ambiguity in this deck. And I think I'm going to actually do what I learned from in that series at some point with Spring Spirits. I'll probably wait to the spring or summer just because it's such a summery deck. But this is the reason. There are two cards which are the reason that I bought the deck. One is the Hierophant. And actually the Hierophant is not usually a card I really look for. It's not a deal breaker card for me. But my grandfather was a farmer, and he would feed the chickadees every morning after he retired, and he would put seed on his hands and they would come and line his arms, and he taught me to sort of call the chickadees and have them sit on my little hand when I was a little girl. And like, that is just so personal and so special for me, that I knew I had to have it. It makes me think of my grandfather every time I look at that card. I love it so much. So that one's a super gentle one. Again, I don't use it a ton, but I'm not ready to get rid of it. I know there's going to be the day when I need it. You'd think it would have been now, actually. But I kind of I'm not, even though things are so stressful, I'm not going that way. I want to be kicked around, apparently. Learning a lot about Allison on the videos. Okay, and then the other gentle one I picked, and it does also kick my butt sometimes, but I just love it so much. It's the Animamundi Tarot. It's so beautiful. I feel so good every time I look at it, even though the images, some of them aren't easy. It's not a cotton candy deck at all. Sorry, that's the Hermit. Isn't that a good one? The sun is gorgeous. They're all gorgeous. And I think of this as like the animal companion to the Pagan Otherworlds, because I find the art style very similar. I'm just trying to find a tougher, I know the toughest card in this deck. Now that I've talked about it, I won't be able to find it. That's not it. I don't think that's not the toughest card for me, but still, it's tough. Look at that fool. Oh, I don't know. Seven Swords Tarot, are you watching this? Look at that little guy. Maybe I've already gone past it. Oh, sorry. Two of Cups. Seahorses are perfect for Two of Cups. I don't know why in my gentle thing I'm trying to find the worst card to show to you, but it's so... Oh. Five of Cups. Oh. But the way it makes me feel when I use it, it still makes me feel like nurtured and cared for, and I love this deck so much. Oh my God. What a great deck. I cannot stress enough how great the Animamundi Tarot is. Because I'm not so much of an Oracle person, I have held off on an Oracle deck, even though it's so beautiful. But I underutilize the Oracles I do have, so I'm trying to be super mindful so I can buy more tarot decks. Okay, next. Share one tarot myth you used to believe and why you stopped believing it. I couldn't think of an answer for this one, except maybe I think I'm used to be way more held to specific spreads than I am now, and like assigning meaning, like the Celtic cross, right? Like I really like being more freeform now and just throwing stuff out and seeing, do I want more cards? Do I not want more cards? I do sometimes still do spreads, and I like the Celtic cross. I do sort of a modified version. Often I leave off the 4 cards at the side and just focus on the central, what would it be, 6 cards. But I don't think there's like, I bought my own tarot deck. I didn't believe in, like, I have a fairly skeptical mind, which may seem funny coming on a tarot video, but it's like, whatever, I'm buying my own deck. I mean, to be gifted a deck is heaven, of course, but I don't really know other than that. Thoughts on tarot becoming mainstream? All for it. All for it. I can't understand, like, it's fun to know how to do something that other people don't know how to do, but honestly, the only reason I know how to do this is because I put in the time, and other people put in different time to learn different things, and I'm super grateful because then they can share those things with me. And but I love talking about it, and if somebody wants to learn, I want to support them, and because everything is going to be like, if you use it as a tool for yourself and for self-improvement, then there's no bad side to that. So yeah, into it. It's great. My first professional reading experience, either as a reader or a seeker. I have talked about this before. I had a professional reading experience where I wasn't very clear on what I wanted. It was like a fair, like a psychic fair, and I was just starting to get into tarot, and I just was like, I picked someone because they were using the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and I was like, oh, that's the deck that I have. And but this person was very much about reading my future and about telling me what's going to happen to me in my future. And I could tell she was cold reading me. And it's just not the kind of reader I am, and not what I aspired to be. And it wasn't what I hoped. But in her defense, I didn't know how to ask for what I wanted, but I certainly wasn't clear in what I wanted. So that wasn't so great. But I have had really good ones since then, and usually from people that I know, which is fun, like people in this community. And I think I talked about this maybe earlier. Oh, this year first. I'm not going to talk about that. I think I talked about it earlier. It's a cool reading experience I had this year, but whatever. I don't even know, what was my first professional reading experience? Oh, it was a friend of mine. So I read for this one friend a bunch, and she was like, my friend wants to have you read her cards. And I was like, are you sure? I haven't done a ton. And like, I'd done a ton for people for free, and she was like, no, she wants you. And it was great. And I was so happy, and it was awesome. How do I pick my decks for tarot readings? So again, I think I maybe talked about this in a different video, but in the regular time when there's not a giant pandemic, if I'm going somewhere to meet with somebody, I'll take a variety, and I try to mix up like animal energy, traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, like, well, not just Rider-Waite-Smith, Morgan Greer, Aquarian, like one of those, like solids. Although I always have a Rider-Waite-Smith because I love it. Like more modern, more like pen and ink aesthetic, like Naked Heart or Wild Unknown. Maybe like if it's seasonal, I'll take some Halloween stuff, and really seasonally, like, because that's what inspires me. So depending on the season, darker decks, lighter decks, blah, blah, blah. And I'll take an assortment and then say, what sort of speaks to you? What kind of art do you want to look at for your reading for this time? And again, I let other people shuffle my decks. Like, it's all great. I'm totally into that. It's been a little bit different in the pandemic. I haven't met with anybody in person since early November because we had this super warm spell, and I got to go to the park and do it. And I think I took 6 decks maybe to the park. I don't tend to do that with oracle decks if I'm going to finish off with an oracle card reading, just because I don't have that many, and it's a smaller part of the reading. So I usually just take 1, maybe 2 that I'm into, and then I choose if that's going to be part of the reading, but it isn't always. And then for myself, it's literally just like, what do I feel like? This one. And just decide in the moment. I'm really, I bounce from deck to deck. I always think, oh, for this month, I'm just going to use this. I don't do that at all. How do I feel about tarot deck modification? Do you draw on your decks, trim the borders, or is it a no-go for you? I am envious of people who have the guts to modify their tarot decks, and I never do it. I always have plans. I have materials with which to do it, and I am too much of a klutzy chicken. So I don't do it. But oh man, but I do watch Boho Tarot's videos and salivate and dream. Whatever. It's just not who I am. And I don't have the time, but really it's not who I am. I'm not that. What questions do I most often ask the tarot for myself and others? I try to get guidance for the day ahead or the week ahead or the month ahead. Often I'll just sit with for myself, I'll just sit with my own frame of mind and try to really ground that and root it, and then draw cards to reflect on that state of mind, especially right now. I haven't been asking a lot of defined questions for myself, to be honest. In terms of other people, I mean, there's the classic things people want to know about. They want to know about their family situation. They want to know about their work situations, and they definitely want to know about love situations. I've also talked about this before on the channel, but I don't like to read about someone who's not there. So if someone says, oh, I want to know about this person and how they feel about me, I would rather be like, let's talk about your feelings and their actions. Just because it's far removed. And I do think that dwelling on something that may not be healthy, I mean, if it's healthy, it's like husband or whatever, then sure. But I don't like to speculate on another person who's not there. That's a better way of putting it. Make guesses or predictions about another person. I don't love that. So instead, we focus on what people want from love, if we can. Sometimes people are not as open to that. Share one of the new things I learned about tarot in the last year. I've been learning a lot about the tarot, actually, and I think most about the Tower card. The idea of the Tower card. Someone explained the Tower card to me on Instagram, how they interpret it is that the breaking has happened and now you're going to move on and into better things, right? Because the cards that come after it are so positive, right? So that this is just recognizing this transition to something more positive. And I was like, that's super cool. And thinking more about the order of the majors. And I know it's like the Fool's Journey and blah, 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 but I haven't tended to just incorporate that as much into my own readings. I will also say that I'm getting much more comfortable with the court cards I feel like the court cards were the last to come to me in terms of comfort. And I do feel much more comfortable now with the court cards, partly in thanks to Ethany's book, actually, who did this tarot challenge. But also just familiarity in working with them and making a concerted effort to learn and thinking about laying out all the kings and looking at similarities and differences and how they're interacting with their element, and then laying out the families of courts and looking at how they interact with each other depending on where you place them, and then looking at a bunch of pages from a bunch of different decks or a bunch of knights from a bunch of different decks, and just doing that stuff. Finally, 31, share a deck that you have to break up with. I don't have to break up with anybody. I don't have to do anything. But if there is a deck that I think I'm going to break up with, and even just saying it out loud, I feel like I don't. And I talked about this. This is one of the early decks I had in my what have I learned from. But I feel like the Green Witch Tarot and I are not vibing. And of course, I say that, and then the World Tree is the first card up, and you know how I feel about a tree. The art in this deck is so beautiful. I want to live in this world, but I just am not clicking with it, and it's too beautiful to not click with. Somebody out there is going to love it. Just so gorgeous. I talked about this in that video too. The Horn God, it goes so far up the hot scale that it becomes actually dumb, I think. It's actually a bit of a criticism. Like, he's just so romance novel cover, which it's fine. If you like romance novels, it's totally fine. I'm not dissing that. But I don't know. It's just so, it makes me laugh so hard. Anyway, it's so, and actually the greatest thing, I've talked about this before, is the way that light is used in this deck. It's not going to translate in my, it's getting super dark outside. But the light and shadow is masterful in this deck. It's the best out of any of the decks I've seen. So you'll notice I still have it. And I haven't given it away. But if someone was looking and they were like, you know what kind of deck I would like, and I would gladly gift it to somebody, I'd rather not just sell it. I don't have the box anymore because I didn't used to keep boxes. And I was like, I'm going to have this deck forever. But if someone in my life wanted this deck, I would give it to them so happily, just because it is a beaut. It's just not clicking for me. It's a bummer. I do like it. Anyway, that's it. I did it. 31 days of Tarot 2021. Woot! Let's hope that by the time we're doing this challenge next year, the world looks like a bit of a different place. And I hope everybody has a great night, and I hope you stay happy and healthy and that you have an awesome day tomorrow. Bye.